At exactly 2:13 in the morning, a clip only 7 seconds long began spreading across the internet like a quiet storm that refused to end. No warning, no headline, no official explanation, just a grainy recording from the audience of the glamorous Blue Dragon Film Awards. The room was glowing with chandeliers, applause rolling through the hall like thunder ready to descend, and the camera seemed to wander through the crowd of stars as if searching for a story that had not yet reached its end. Then something unexpected happened that made thousands of viewers pause their screens instead of pressing the usual play button again. In the middle of that golden crowd sat Jun-ho and Yoon-ah, separated by only a few chairs, yet surrounded by a silence that felt strangely intense. For a moment the world believed nothing unusual had happened, but then their eyes met across the room in a brief glance that felt less like coincidence and more like a forgotten promise returning again. The moment lasted barely a few seconds before both of them politely turned their attention back toward the stage, yet something about that glance refused to end. Within minutes, the clip began traveling across social media like a mysterious message that fans were determined to defend, replay, and recommend. The comments arrived faster than anyone could pretend to comprehend. Did you see that? Why did they look at each other like that again? Was that just a friendly moment, or the echo of a romance that never truly reached its end? Because long before that 7-second moment began trending again, the world had already witnessed the beginning of their story in the beloved drama King the Land. When the series first appeared, audiences expected a charming romantic comedy filled with laughter and luxury hotel scenes that would easily blend into the endless list of K-drama recommendations. But from the very first episode, something unusual began to ascend. The chemistry between Jun-ho and Yoon-ah felt effortless, natural, almost suspiciously perfect in a way that made viewers pause and wonder whether they were watching scripted fiction or something quietly authentic unfolding beyond pretend. Their characters laughed together beneath sparkling chandeliers, argued playfully across polished hotel floors, and slowly discovered love in scenes that felt so believable that fans around the world began to defend one daring idea, that the connection they were watching might not completely end when the cameras stopped recording again. Behind the scenes, the story only seemed to extend. During interviews, they teased each other with the comfortable ease of longtime friends. At press conferences, their laughter blended so naturally that reporters often smiled before the questions could even begin. In one viral clip from the drama's promotion, Jun-ho dramatically bowed after Yoon-ah finished a line, making her laugh so hard she nearly forgot the next sentence she was supposed to recommend. The crew burst into laughter, the cameras continued recording, and within hours that small playful moment began trending across social media again. Fans replayed it again and again, asking the same curious question that refused to bend. Why do they look so comfortable together? As the drama continued, the fascination only seemed to extend. Each episode strengthened the belief that their on-screen romance carried a sincerity that felt rare in modern television trends. When the story finally approached its final episode, viewers across the world prepared themselves for the emotional ending they had come to recommend. The characters embraced beneath soft lights, the music swelled like a promise reaching its gentle end, and the closing scene delivered the fairy tale conclusion that romantic dramas usually defend. The screen faded to black. The credits began to descend. And for a brief moment, it seemed that the story of the King the Land couple had finally reached its intended end. But something unusual happened next. Instead of disappearing quietly like most drama couples once the camera stopped recording, the fascination surrounding Jun-ho and Yoon-ah continued to extend across the internet again. Every time they appeared at public events together, even accidentally, fans began analyzing their interactions like detectives examining clues that might reveal a story still waiting to ascend. A casual greeting at an awards show turned into headlines. A brief mention during an interview became another trending discussion that refused to end. And whenever they laughed together during public appearances, the internet responded with thousands of comments insisting that their chemistry still felt impossible to pretend. That is why the 7-second moment at the Blue Dragon Film Awards felt so astonishing when it suddenly appeared again. It was not dramatic, not exaggerated, not even particularly obvious to viewers who were not already familiar with their story. Yet for fans who had followed their journey since King the Land first began, that glance across the room felt like a quiet continuation of something that had never fully reached its end. Perhaps the fascination surrounding them has less to do with confirmed romance and more to do with the rare authenticity audiences believe they witnessed on screen. In a world where entertainment moves quickly and trends fade before they can properly descend, moments that feel genuine often leave the deepest impression. The smiles between Jun-ho and Yoon-ah rarely look rehearsed. Their conversations feel relaxed rather than carefully arranged. Their laughter carries the warm rhythm of two people who truly enjoy each other's presence again. And because of that authenticity, fans continue to imagine the possibility that their story might extend beyond the boundaries of scripted fiction. Maybe their relationship is exactly what they have always described: professional, respectful, and friendly until the very end. Or maybe the connection audiences noticed during King the Land still exists quietly somewhere beyond the reach of cameras and headlines again. Whatever the truth may be, one thing remains impossible to pretend. Even after the final episode of the drama reached its intended end, the legend of the King the Land couple refused to disappear. Instead, it continues to rise every time their paths cross in public events, every time fans rediscover old behind-the-scenes moments, and every time a small, unexpected glance reminds the world why their story still feels unfinished again. Because sometimes the most unforgettable romances are not the ones that clearly begin and clearly end. Sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that linger quietly in the background, waiting for another moment, another glance, another meeting, another unexpected scene, to remind the world that the story might not be over yet again.